Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Now, on the surface, the classic folktale we're looking at today seems to be just about a simple craving for a specific food. But honestly, beneath that, it's this incredibly profound narrative about severe hardship, magical rewards, and the very real, sometimes hilarious consequences of greed versus generosity. We're going to map out the journey of a poor father who goes to literally extraordinary lengths for his child, and how his pure intentions trigger a whole chain of supernatural events. It's a fantastic story, so let's just dive right in. Okay, let's dive into this. The central emotional question that drives this entire narrative is actually pretty simple. Can a poor father fulfill his son's demand for pakoras? And if you don't know, pakoras are these absolutely delicious deep-fried fritters. So our protagonist is a poor bird named Lalan, and he has a son named Pinku. Now, Pinku doesn't want just anything. He specifically wants spicy onion and chili pakoras on a rainy day. Sounds like a totally small everyday request, right? But in the context of this fable, this simple demand becomes an absolutely insurmountable mountain. This question isn't just about food, it's about dignity, fatherly love, and the really painful realities of poverty. To really understand the stakes here, we have to look at the stark contrast between two households in this village. On one hand, we have Lalan's house. They are so incredibly destitute that they've literally run out of basic salt. Pinku, the son, is sent next door to borrow some. And on the other hand, we have Fulan the crow's house. Now, Fulan is wealthy. She's actively frying fragrant chili and onion pakoras, and well, she is incredibly arrogant about her status. This contrast sets up the perfect narrative foil. We've got extreme lack right next to extreme abundance, which totally sets the stage for conflict when the hungry child crosses over to the wealthy house just to borrow a tiny pinch of salt. And wow, that conflict happens immediately. When little Pinko goes over to Fulan's house and politely mentions how amazing those pakoras smell, Fulan delivers this completely crushing blow. She says, "How will he eat? Just be satisfied with the smell." She literally mocks the fact that his family can't even afford salt, let alone fried snacks. She tells him that eating such food requires good luck, which she says he definitely doesn't have, and then just dismisses him. This incredibly harsh insult really agitates the core problem. It takes a situation of everyday poverty and injects it with this deep, stinging humiliation. And you guessed it, this is the exact catalyst that sets Lalan the father on his desperate quest. The situation quickly becomes absolutely heartbreaking. Pinker returns home in tears, just sitting by the window as heavy rain pours outside. He's completely shattered by the insult and the denial of his innocent little craving. When Lalan gets home and sees his son's tear-streaked face, man, it acts as the absolute emotional anchor for the entire story. Even though his wife Kajari points out they barely have rice and lentils, let alone chickpea flour and oil for fritters, Lalan just cannot bear his son's sorrow. Driven purely by fatherly love, Lalan declares he's going to go to the market right then and there. He decides to brave the torrential storm just to find a way to feed his son. So, Lalan flies to the market through this driving rain only to find the place practically deserted. He finally spots one single vegetable vendor, but boom, he hits a massive hurdle. Because of the heavy rain and lack of supply, the vendor demands a staggering 50 rupees for just 250 grams of onions and chilies. To put that into perspective, that's a massive markup for a few vegetables. And the vendor refuses to lower the price by even a single rupee, citing the severe shortage of goods. Now, that massive hurdle becomes completely devastating when you realize Lalan only has 30 rupees to his name. That's it. That is his entire life savings. The vendor coldly tells him that 30 rupees won't even buy 2 onions, and reminds him he still needs to buy oil and flour on top of that. The vendor actually mocks him. He says if he wants to eat pakoras, his pockets need to be strong. This completely highlights Lalan's meager resources and his utter helplessness in the face of inflation and situational hardship. He is, for all intents and purposes, completely defeated. Let's walk through Lalan's absolutely miserable day chronologically just to see how things escalate. In the morning, his family is humiliated by Fulan. By noon, he fails to buy food due to that hyperinflation at the market. In the afternoon, utterly exhausted and defeated, he takes shelter under an old tree and falls asleep. Now, when he wakes up, he notices the tree's roots are exposed and loose, so he selflessly takes the time and energy to cover them with mud to protect the tree. The tree actually speaks, thanking him for being the only one to ever care for its roots, and promises to help him in the future. But look at the evening. As he flies away, Lalan unknowingly drops his pouch containing his last 30 rupees. It's like he does a good deed at his absolute lowest point, only to fall even lower. Now, what's really interesting about this part of the story is how the narrative pushes the protagonist to the absolute brink before offering any kind of salvation. Lalan is desperate. He's lost his money, he has no work. So he decides he literally must sell his ancestral land just to feed his son and wash away the humiliation. But when the wealthy villagers, including Fulan and another crow named Bandu, hear about this, they openly mock him. They're laughing that a bird who can't even afford salt is selling his land for pakoras. Unable to bear the public shaming, Lalan retreats to the forest in tears. He goes right back to the very tree he helped, crying out to the universe, questioning why poverty has to be accompanied by such deep public insult. The agitation has reached its absolute peak. And here is the grand turning point of the story. The magic tree hears Lalan's cries. It tells him, "Do not sell your land," and decides to reward his earlier selfless kindness. But the magic comes with a catch. The tree says, "Whatever you get from this magic, you must share it with the poor birds of the jungle." See, the tree explicitly ties the magical reward to a strict moral condition. And Lalan? He instantly agrees. He promises he won't hoard the magic for himself, but will actually find joy in sharing it with those who have nothing. So what exactly is the reward? It's the magic basket. Honestly, it looks like just a simple wooden basket, but when Lalan brings it home, to the complete astonishment of his wife and son, it miraculously begins to overflow with incredible sweets and food. It's literally the ultimate supernatural solution to Lalan's financial and emotional problems, granting infinite provisions. But remember the definition we just talked about? It only works as a blessing as long as the owner adheres to the condition of sharing the bounty. And this brilliantly illustrates the story's take on karma and grace. Step 1, the arrogant Fulan smells the amazing sweets coming from next door. Step 2, driven completely by greed, she sneaks into Lalan's house to steal a plate. But step 3 is where it gets good. The magic punishes her. The exact moment she grabs the sweets, they magically stick to her body, freezing her in place until she has to cry out for help. She is caught completely red-handed. But look at step 4. Despite all the humiliation she caused him, Lalan's family forgives her. They tell her they're poor, but she is more than welcome to come back and eat with them properly when the pakors are ready. Lalan shows just incredible grace here. It's a really powerful reminder that true wealth isn't just about what you have, but how you treat those who have wronged you when the tables finally turn. So Lalan then takes the infinite ingredients from the basket, we're talking chickpea flour, oil, onions, chilies, and his wife fries up an absolute mountain of pakoras. He summons all the poor hungry villagers and serves them unlimited hot food. By doing this, he beautifully fulfills his promise to the magic tree. He actually tells his son that eating alone isn't the point. Bringing everyone together is what multiplies the joy. This feast completely resolves the initial problem. Not only does Pinku get his pakoras, but the entire destitute community is fed, which officially completes Lalan's hero's journey from a helpless, humiliated father to the true savior of his community. But wait, the story isn't quite over, and the tone shifts slightly right about here to give us a final moment of tension and, honestly, a bit of humor. The wealthy villagers, Fulan and Bandu the crow, realize Lalan has found some secret wealth. Now, Fulan is way too scared to go back, so Bandu Crow decides to sneak into Lalan's house at midnight. He is determined to exploit whatever is causing this sudden abundance. Sure enough, he finds the wooden basket while the family is fast asleep. Bandu realizes this thing might be a magic item. So what does he do? He tests it by making the most bizarre, hilarious demand possible. Basket, give me frog pickle. I mean, what a sudden comedic shift in the narrative, right? Instead of asking for gold or even pakoras, his weird, greedy craving completely takes over. But, hey, remember the rule of the basket. It rewards pure intentions and punishes selfish greed. Because Bandu is there to steal and hoard, the basket absolutely does not give him delicious pickle. Instead, live frogs literally explode out of the basket. They start jumping all over the terrified Bandu Crow, attacking him and biting him until he has to flee for his life into the rainy night, screaming his head off that the frogs are going to eat him. It is just this chaotic visual proof that the magic basket will severely punish anyone who operates out of selfish greed. And so we come to the final emotional state of the story. While Bandu is running away into the storm, Lalan wakes up, realizing exactly what just happened. But he is completely at peace. The rain continues to pour outside, just like it did at the very beginning of the story. But inside, Lalan's house is fundamentally changed. It remains full of warmth, surrounded by grateful friends, with absolutely no shortage of food. The lasting impact of his selfless kindness toward that tree has fully secured his family's future and insulated them from the storms of the outside world. Ultimately, this fable uses a specific, relatable craving for pakoras in the rain as a gateway to teach us all about endurance, generosity, and justice. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought that connects us right back to Pinku's initial innocent craving. What is your favorite food in the rainy season? Think about how food brings comfort during storms, and how sharing that comfort, just like Lalin did, might just be its own kind of magic. Leave your answers in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.